Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome back to another video, with us still coming off the 4th year anniversary of the release of the 4th game. God, try saying that 12 times in a row. It has raised many questions about the status of the next game. More specifically, what exactly is going on with it? Because naturally, we're not only curious about what will happen in the next game, but more specifically, the current development status of the game itself. Over the last 2 years, game development has been extremely hard on the industry, and with COVID running rampant, it has caused many studios to close down or have extremely large projects enter a snail's pace. And whilst we may be in 2022, and we are definitely quite out of the deep end, there are still many games in development now that are suffering, like Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, which has been delayed. So, in today's video, we will be covering what's next for the God of War series, what's going on with its current status right now, and where will we next get some official news about the climax of the Norse series of games. But before we do so guys, as always, I would super appreciate it if we could get this video to about 500 likes. You guys absolutely killed it in last week's video, and the support has blown me away. It is your love and support here that honestly does keep the channel going. Now, the last time we did get any big news about Ragnarok was unfortunately all the way back in November of 2021 during the PlayStation 5 game exhibition. That unfortunately does mean that it's been more than 240 plus days since we've got any news. Since then, everything has sadly gotten very silent in terms of game development, as we are yet to get a release date. But despite nothing being shown on the front of the stage, behind the scenes is where we do hear some noise going on, as after a long hiatus from the studio, there are many team members that have finally felt comfortable enough to return back to their workstations at Santa Monica, so they will be able to pick up where they left off. We even had Ryan Hurst, the actor for Thor, at the studio recently. What's for, however, is something we simply do not know. But if I were to guess, I would say it's him going in to do some mocap, or maybe redo or add additional lines of dialogue to what's going on in game. While Santa Monica hasn't said too much since the exhibition, it has been made 100% clear that they do hear us, and quite possibly sense a little bit of frustration on our part, as after their prolonged silence, it is understandable that they would sense that the community is somewhat quite desperate to hear what's going on with the game. And this was even acknowledged on the 20th of April 2022, where producer of Ragnarok and longtime developer Corey Barlog explained in his 4-year anniversary celebration video that the game is simply not quite ready right now, as it is their most ambitious game to date, describing himself as a perfectionist. I imagine the rest of the studio have the same mindset and do wish to give us a fully polished and ready product right out of the gate. So with that being said, and the recap somewhat out the way, what is coming next? What should we keep an eye on? And will it be a state of play? Well, most likely not. As of right now and making this video, the only real big events that definitely does seem to be catching everyone's attention is the Summer Games Festival being held on the 9th of June, so less than a month away. And there's a number of reasons as to why I think this is a case. First things first, E3. For those of you unaware, the well-known game convention and exhibition has once again sadly been closed for the 3rd year in a row. So, with the receding popularity of the event, Xbox and PlayStation have been stepping up and organizing their own smaller exhibitions, with State of Plays being an example. But despite this, we actually haven't seen one properly, at least on a game, since the start of the year with Horizon Forbidden West. So because of this, our next and natural assumption is the Summer Games Festival, which has more or less at this point become a replacement for what E3 once was. we currently don't have a lineup for the exhibition of games, but considering that we haven't had any real news since the 2021 Game Awards, I think if there ever was a way to cement your next big AAA title, it's definitely here. We must keep in mind that we are still yet to get a release date for Ragnarok, which is still expected to release this year. So they're definitely running down the clock on this, which in turn makes the chances of a trailer reveal that much higher. It may not be a full-blown trailer, it may just be something quite short and sweet that simply announces the release date. Now, personally, I think that there are multiple reasons as to why this has been dragged out for as long as it has. And I believe that largely does come down to publicity and, well, success. We know that of all of the exclusive PlayStation titles that have dropped, that God of War Ragnarok was always going to be one of the big games of this generation. And with it being next on the lineup, Sony may have purposely been postponing any real information due to wanting to have the market be a bit more open. What I mean by this is that, going back to what I said earlier with the mass delay of games, this year we're getting odd and really weird clusters of big game drops with little to no warning. And once again, this is largely because of what the pandemic has done. And I think behind the scenes, it's understandable to think that Sony are probably a bit bitter about the release of Horizon Forbidden West. For those of you who don't know, despite Horizon's phenomenal visual design and gameplay, the exclusive title was unfortunately completely overshadowed by a game that released a week or so later. Elden Ring, From Software's next big game and first real attempt at an open world universe that expanded on the refined Souls combat and world design. It is a game that has certainly met its hype and exceeded the expectations of many. But sadly, because of this, Horizon has been left in the dust. It is a title that many very quickly forgot due to the release of the very well marketed Elden Ring. And this actually wouldn't be the first time that it's happened to the Horizon series, as a few years back, a very similar scenario played out, with its release far too close to that of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Forbidden West was always doomed to suffer a similar fate. Also, gotta keep in mind, Elden Ring got pushed a month back, which is why it clashed with Forbidden West. So, I think with this information in mind, and being aware of how manic the market is right now, Sony is more than likely licking its wounds and choosing when it would benefit them, as well as Santa Monica the best. And by probably giving them more leeway and time for Ragnarok to cook in the oven, it means that we will have a more refined product. With that being said, what do you currently think about the current status of God of War Ragnarok? Are you still hyped? Or do you think the silence has somewhat stifled your excitement? Do you think the Summer Games Festival is where we will get some more news? Or will it be tied exclusively to a state of play? Please do comment down below. Personally, I am of the opinion right now that they definitely do need to show us something. Not necessarily drop a huge trailer on us, although that would be nice. But I think it's important to get the marketing side of things rolling. It's been far too silent for far too long, and I think because of that, many people may just end up forgetting that Ragnarok is a thing, especially with the release of Elden Ring, a game that many are still playing to this day. Don't get me wrong, once we get some news, that's definitely where most people will start to flock in, but I think as of right now, it is both good and healthy to keep some interest in the game alive. And I mean, hey man, there's a lot that goes on in that first trailer. You could make some bios on Twitter and your website to let us know what exactly are we looking at. We get our first look at Vidreki, a centaur, Tyr, presumably warriors from Valhalla, Light Elves, our first shot of Nidavellir, possibly Vanaheim, new enemies. Please, for the love of God, there's just so much out there that's just floating in the ether right now, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't getting quite frustrated to see nothing being done about it. But hey, that's definitely me on my part, kind of venting and being very excited about this game. Fingers crossed that something changes. I will say, don't get your hopes up for the Summer Games Festival. Just keep your eyes open and expect to see some games. Hopefully Ragnarok will be there, but if not, I will just have to stare at this brick wall for a much longer time. But anyway guys, please let me know down in the comments below, what do you currently think about this situation? But for now, as always, this has been it for me. So stay strong, stay well, and keep on fighting as Ragnarok comes for us all. Take care everyone, I'll see you next time.